Welcome back to Medicine Deconstructed. I'm your host, Dr. Jay Rutland. I have talked a lot about the harm of smoking and what it does to the lungs. But even more importantly, I know the pain of watching a loved one suffer from the consequences of smoking, COPD. Seeing my own grandfather die of the consequences of smoking was probably my single greatest piece of motivation to become what I am now, which is a pulmonologist. Now, unfortunately, people inhale all sorts of substances into their lungs. When you step out in the environment, you're doing so. But there's two substances that are abused the most. These are nicotine from tobacco products and THC from cannabis products. I don't condone the use of either of these substances. What I do condone is quitting them, especially smoking and vaping them. I know it can be a challenge to quit smoking. I'm not a smoker, I never have been. But I know somebody who has had plenty of experience with smoking and quitting. Now, recently, my producer, Nick, has really taken charge of his health. I could take a little bit of credit for motivating him because a huge part of what made him go from looking like this to looking like this is he quit smoking. So to help some of my viewers out there who are personally struggling with smoking and vaping, or maybe have loved ones who are struggling, I'm inviting Nick here to talk about his own journey to better his health and how he quit smoking.
My name is Nick Johnson. I'm a producer for Medicine Deconstructed. I'm 34 and I've been a pretty heavy smoker for the past 17 years of my life, so half my life, and I just recently quit smoking. I started smoking marijuana in high school very occasionally, but became more of a heavy user, daily user, multiple times a day in college. I also started smoking tobacco and marijuana rolled into the same cigarette, which are, commonly referred to as spliffs. Initially, I thought this would slow me down from smoking because I could chain smoke just marijuana, but tobacco made me dizzy. So I was like, oh, if I put a little bit of tobacco in it, then I won't smoke as much and it will save me money in the long run. But that was the dumbest thing ever. I moved to Los Angeles in 2011. I got really into hiking in around 2014. I ended up becoming a through hiker, which is hiking long distances from one point to another. I did the Pacific Crest Trail, which is from Mexico to Canada. But the problem with that is you have to eat so much food and you want calorically dense food, so it's not heavy to carry.
Cheese is good on everything.
Easy cheese on a Twinkie.
Oh my God.
But that can kind of mess up your eating habits if you're not aware of that when you get off trail and you're not burning 3,000 to 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. After I got done with the Pacific Crest Trail, I started working full-time in film production. I was hooked on my Juul vape at that point. 12 hours a day on set, I'd have a mini Coke and a Juul at all times. It was almost like a joke, and that just led to horrible, horrible health outcomes. In 3 years, I'd gone from the most fit I'd ever been in my life to the least fit. I was overweight. I had horrible asthma that was being exacerbated by the smoking. I'd be sleeping with a breathe strip, snoring, kind of just a big, disgusting mess. After gaining all the weight, I always said, oh, I just gotta get back on trail. I just gotta get back on trail. I had a cousin who had been planning on hiking it that year, so it was a great, kick in the butt to actually do it. And I knew if I got on trail that I would lose weight and I could potentially change my life around in terms of my health scenario. When people finish their through hike, it's a drastic change. People talk about post-trail depression. And last time I got done with the PCT, I had the Elvis syndrome where, I wanted burgers, I wanted soda, I wanted all the things that I was not having on trail all the time. And that's why I got so heavy. So I knew that when I got done with the Appalachian Trail, I could not make the same mistake. I had worked so hard to get myself in shape. I didn't want to blow it on donuts and pizza. I changed my relationship with food before I hit the trail. And then when I was able to get back from trail, I was able to maintain those healthy habits. The best way I was able to change my relationship with food was to stop going and eating out at fast food or restaurants in general and cooking my own food and eating the portions that I wanted and not worrying about, you know, getting the bang for my buck for my food.
Got my I hate myself special. Stuff makes me want to smoke a joint so bad.
Just like Mom made it. Hi, Mom. I love you, Shishi. Yeah, just using it more as like fuel versus comfort and fun.
Was there a moment on the Appalachian Trail where you were like, yeah, that's it, I'm done with this. I'm done smoking?
No. In the process of starting to work very closely with Dr. Rutland on Medicine Deconstructed, hearing all about COPD and how awful that is scared the out of me. About 2 years ago, I was able to quit nicotine and tobacco altogether. The biggest thing that helped me do that was the book, The Easy Way to Quit Smoking, which my partner Jess recommended to me. I binged it. I listened to all 11 hours of it in one sitting and was able to quit cold turkey just by kind of resetting how I was thinking about smoking. He gave a metaphor that smoking is like wearing shoes that are too tight only to have the relief of taking off your shoes. And I was like, damn, bars, that hit hard. You know, a lot of people think that smoking tobacco is dangerous and smoking weed is not dangerous. I think that smoking tobacco is probably worse for you, but that doesn't make smoking weed any better for you. Jess's uncle, who I was very close to, Chris Boyle, passed away. He was very sick for a long time, but he only smoked weed.
I've been a badass motherfucker my whole life.
I pretty much saw him like suffocate to death in his own body. And that's a pretty visceral image that is hard to ignore. I also have a 12-year-old stepdaughter who is aware of how much I smoke, which is not a good example to set. And she was also verbalizing how upset it makes her watching me essentially slowly kill myself. That was a big motivation to change some stuff up. And then throughout the trail, I was kind of meditating on quitting smoking and how that would go. Didn't get there until I was done with the trail. Once I got done hiking, I started trail running more. I was noticing that, you know, the chest congestion was not clearing. It was holding me back, and I wanted to try to switch to maybe 1 joint a day down from 10. The way I attempted to do it was to buy a bunch of very cheap edibles and cut down to 1 joint a day and just rely on edibles instead of smoking all the time. The cheap edibles that I got were indica, and I'm a sativa smoker, so it just made me fall asleep and wasn't really working for me and made me kind of want to start smoking my sativa joints again. But I was able to, in a moment of weakness, Jess ordered me some sativa gummies delivery, and I was real cranky, and then, you know, I took my sativa edibles, got in the bath, and I was like, oh, everything's fine. Once I had cut down to 1 joint a day and edibles, it changed kind of the way I was relating to marijuana, and I knew that I could just quit it. And I'm like trying to transition my marijuana addiction to running addiction, which is a little bit healthier. If there's any advice for anyone that's trying to quit smoking, first off, I would just read How to Quit Smoking. That did the most for me. Talk to your friends and family about what you want and why you want it, and try to get their support. And at the end of the day, it's just something that you have to want, and do it for yourself.
All right, it's been 8 or 9 months since we filmed my How to Quit Smoking video, and I have still successfully quit, living substance-free, feeling good, still training with my trail running. Got a 50-mile trail race coming up in December and 100K coming up in January. So, yeah, things are good.
Thanks for joining today's episode of Medicine Deconstructed. I also want to thank Nick for joining us today. I always like using him because he's become a great friend, and he also has severe asthma, so I know quitting smoking has done a lot for you.
I love you, Dr. J.
Thanks for sharing your story. I hope it helps others on their journey to a healthier lifestyle. We'll see you next time.